Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Hey, Matthew Swinnerton here with the Men Santa Cruz, and I am at California Coffee. I'm here with Justina and Alex. How you guys doing?
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Okay,
Yeah.
Alex, why are we here? Why? I asked you where we're going to meet. Why did we're meeting here at California Coffee?
It's a great meeting location. We played here a few times. Neil Perlberg introduced me to Sylvia. She's a wonderful lady. Great food, great coffee, great vibe. It's the most chill place, and I figured it would be just very, very appropriate for a meeting.
I'm here for the couch.
Yeah.
So.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, and what I like about California Coffee is it's more than just great food and coffee, but it's an event space.
It is.
This is where you guys play. This is
Yeah.
where a lot of bands play.
Yeah.
It's a hub.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. So I think
It's
really
a hub
cool.
for a lot of things. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about a couple things. For one, I want to get the inside track of you two, of how you met. What was the spark of you two? Who liked who better? Because what
Spot.
fight did you guys have first? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting to the nitty gritty,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
I'm gonna need a drink for this.
I like how we did a pre-interview and I did not mention all the.
Yeah.
You really didn't. You
Yeah.
kind of tricked us a little bit.
And then I want to find out, it's the music and why it's so important to you, and what's your music now compared to years ago? How has it changed? And I do want to discuss, but this, I don't know, I feel it's an overwhelming experience that you had in Maui, so I do want to discuss
Yeah.
that at the end.
For sure.
And then again, what are you doing now? Also, too, if people watch this interview before, Friday, August 30th, at Garden Midtown, I want to find out what special thing we're going to do then.
Fine.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So,
Okay.
where did you guys meet?
We met in Oakdale, California, where I was born and raised.
I moved there when I was about 10 years old, so
Yeah.
I pretty much grew up there as well.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier, but I want to know, did you remember the exact time that you guys, the first time you actually saw each other? Do you remember that?
Ooh.
I can't. I used to sing at high school. I used to sing the high school. What's it called?
national anthem at the
at
volleyball
the
games.
volleyball games.
Okay.
That was the
It
first time
didn't
I
have
saw
anything
you.
to do with the fact that I was behind the volleyball players.
In
singing.
spandex. Fine.
So that could have been the first time I saw one angle of Justina.
Wait, so you were on the volleyball team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Okay.
I was a sophomore
Sorry,
when he was a
I didn't
senior.
correlate that,
I was a sophomore when he was a senior,
Yeah.
and the varsity
Okay.
girls would line up and face the flag. And I remember that he would sing behind us, and I remember just thinking.
It wasn't even my decision.
Right, no, they put you there. It's not your fault. I remember thinking, God, this guy's so good. I remember just thinking that you had the coolest voice and the coolest vibe, because he was essentially kind of like the black sheep of Oakdale. The guy had sideburns and Marvin Gaye t-shirts, and everyone else there was beef is what's for dinner, roping in the parking lot. It was a very cowboy town, and you couldn't have been more of the opposite of a cowboy.
Yeah.
And so he's singing this Marvin Gaye version of the national anthem, which was outside of the box already.
Yeah.
And it just really, I was really drawn to it for sure. And then later I was working at the cafe every Sunday, and he would come in his baseball pants, and I couldn't help myself. I just had the fattest crush. It was so funny too, because I just felt this desire to be around him. It wasn't like your typical, oh, he's so cute, or oh, he's a good singer. It was more just that I wanted to be near you.
You were drawn to him.
Yeah, I had so many questions. I was so curious. I needed to know this man.
Huh.
And
so I feel like I've heard quite a bit of times of Justina talking about her viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But what were you thinking all this time? When she was working and she was serving whatever, what were you thinking about her?
I mean, I can remember being at the cafe and just realizing that she had some of the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen in my life. But it was definitely mostly at the memorials.
Mm-hmm.
There were two different memorials that we played, we being my band at the time.
yeah.
At the rodeo grounds in Oakdale and at Stevenson Ranch Golf Course. And her and her mom both came in. And her and her mom could stop a crowd together. When they come in, everybody's like, oh my God. And so I was obviously drawn just to her sheer beauty. But then getting to talk to her, I realized that she was an actual person, which, no offense to any woman that's watching this, but it doesn't happen all the time. probably the same with guys.
Yeah, no,
to be
totally.
honest.
It's not. Yeah, that's not gender specific.
But
It's anybody.
But just the realizing how beautiful she was, and it was an automatic draw as well. And when her parents ended up hiring me for her graduation party to play, and
Wait, pause there. So
Yeah.
your parents hired you. Her parents hired you.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your asking?
Oh no, it was like a surprise thing.
Yeah.
Because he was also, I mean, all of this to say that I had a fat crush on him, but also he was like the most desired local musician in town that you hired for parties. It was like what people, it was like his business. It was what you did. If you had a party.
But you were like young too.
He was
You were like
19.
19.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
so-
started playing when I was 16.
Okay.
And so this was already 2.5, 3 years into my playing as a musician.
Yeah, their band Soul Heart, it was just he and his drummer.
Okay.
They were kind of like what you did for a party, and they brought so much. You added so much to any party, any fundraiser. It was just kind of the thing that you did.
Yeah.
And so at the
It
memorial,
was
one of
fun.
the auction items that he had was a free, private party. And my mom and her friends had gotten together and bid on it, but they were outbid. And so then she came up to you after
Yeah.
and said, "What would you charge for, a private party for my daughter's high school graduation?"
And
They
I didn't
worked it out.
know, weirdly,
At that time,
even though I had seen them together
Mm-hmm.
a couple times, I didn't put it together who it was for
Mm-hmm.
until I went to their house and I realized who it was, and I'm like, oh wow, this is cool.
And I remember thinking, because of course these are the days of Facebook. I remember thinking that he had a girlfriend. He had some very, very coupley photos on his Facebook, and so
Don't go trolling.
Oh.
Yeah, who is that girl?
Oh, please go trolling. They're in his tagged photos. They're hilarious, cute, awesome, sweet, baby cute. But
It had been over for quite some time.
I had no
I'm
idea.
just not the type of person to
Erase.
erase.
no, he's not gonna go
or
in there and
to
be like
update.
single now,
If I didn't have a band, I wouldn't have social media.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah.
I'm with you on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's a necessary evil. There's so
Yeah.
many cool things about it, but yeah. So I had no intention of even like flirting with you because I assumed you were taken, and I think at the party, you kind of shocked me and you walked right up and you asked me to dance. You said you just put your hand
on
out.
one of our breaks, I put background music on over the speakers with my phone.
Okay.
And I just went up and it was Eric Clapton, Wonderful Tonight, and I just grabbed her and I said, "Hey, will you dance with me?" We danced.
Which is hilarious because he's not a dancer. Now that I know him,
That's what I was saying. Like, I mean, did you you just, okay, I want to dance, or are you just like, I'm gonna make the move?
It was definitely I'm gonna make the move,
Okay.
and not even in a ulterior motives way that I wanted to have any crazy, terrible intentions.
Yeah.
It was just that I wanted to make the move.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was just to do that because I wanted, I wanted to do it.
Yeah, you want to.
And of course, my timing was off, and there was only about 20 seconds left of the song, and I'm like, okay. And then
he was Mr. Smooth.
And then I said, wait, I'm the DJ, and I went to the mixer and I started the song over, and we danced the whole song again.
yeah,
I have
and-
power.
yeah.
And so that was 12 and a half years, or no, 10 and a half years prior to us getting married. That was our first dance song.
Oh my
Wonderful
goodness,
Tonight.
that is
Yeah,
so cool.
Because
and it
of
had
that.
nothing to do with you taking your shirt off, jumping in the pool, and playing guitar shirtless.
That was all
That
after.
same night?
That was all after.
celebration. Woo!
So what was that like? That was the spark. Like when you guys say like when we got together, or something like that. Was
Right.
that it?
Well, essentially, yeah.
That was the beginning of pretty much ever since that day, we figured out, even if it was an accident, we saw each other every day almost since then.
Yeah.
And but every day that summer, she had got a scholarship to go to UC Merced for volleyball. She was going to be out of town. I was trying to figure out where I was going to go, if I was going to stay in Oakdale, be a full-time musician still. And so for one thing or another, we went, like I would go to the cafe and she was off and she came and got her check. And so I would just be like, hey, come have breakfast with us. And it was just like accidental things all over. It helps that Oakdale is like at the time, especially like 12,000 people.
Yeah.
Right.
But
It became our running joke. Okay, I'm not going to see you
Yeah.
tomorrow, and then
Yeah.
somehow the next day it would just be,
the big thing that set it up was that her and her uncle and her brother, they had
you had a group of friends.
a group of friends, and they had a window of time where they could go to Yosemite.
Yeah,
and
we
they-
had like a week pass, right?
And so she said, "Hey, me and my uncle and my brother and my friends are all going to Yosemite. Do you want to invite a few people and all go up there, just like as a not?"
Which was ballsy for me because we hardly knew each other.
Okay.
But
The
it was
only-
it was going to take the pressure off because it wasn't going to be like a one-on-one date.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easier. Yeah.
And so I invited my friend, two of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
She had her uncle and her brother and her friend coming. With no fabrication of the story.
Yeah.
As it happened, her uncle got food poisoning.
Andrew's alarm didn't go off. Somebody else just bailed. Like the morning of,
one of
pretty
my
soon,
friends,
they're all falling
One
off.
of my friends didn't show up or didn't answer his phone. He wasn't able to go, and so she called me up and she said, "Hey, looks like it just might be me. If you and your friends still want to go, or if you don't want to do it, that's totally fine." But so
Yeah.
I called up my one friend who was like probably ready with a backpack on his porch, and I said, "Hey, dude, sorry. I'm doing it. Like, you're not going to be a third wheel on this. We're going to go on this date." And so we went up to Yosemite for the first time.
Wait, did you call her and say like, okay, it's just me?
Yeah.
I was ready to give him an out. Like, I'm so sorry. Everyone bailed. I was so embarrassed. This is like the worst.
I told her that that's okay. None of my friends can make it either.
Instead, he
and
was
let's
like,
just
"You're
go."
not coming." Yeah.
And so it wasn't even. It was just like the most innocent, perfect. It was romantic in like a getting to know each other way.
Yeah.
But it was just like one full day of forcefully having to start up conversations and be an hour and a half away from home.
Right.
It's
It
not-
wasn't like
it's
going to
not
dinner
like-
in a movie.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
very
Yeah.
intimate first
Yeah,
real
you have
getting.
no distraction
Yeah.
besides Yosemite, but
Yeah.
Right. I just remember that there wasn't an awkward silence. We were pretty
No.
quickly finishing each other's sentences in a weird way where I was like, "You don't say that, I say that," you
Yeah.
know? And
Afterwards, there's like at the entrance of Yosemite, you can go towards Mariposa, or you can go back home, down through like Groveland. And my family had a cabin in Bass Lake, and I'm just like, I know that we're like only 45 minutes away from my cabin, which has like it was rented at the time, but one of the best like hamburger joints is right next to it. And I'd show her the lake, and I'm like, hey, so we could go home, or we could take a little detour. And so we did the detour. We did the whole lake, and we did.
I want to extend this as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Oh my God,
I
it
wanted
was
to
like
make it
a
last as long as it could.
yeah, it was
you
like
know?
a 11, 12-hour first date.
Yeah.
I remember my parents were like, "Where the heck are you?" You know?
And ever since then, it was kind of like that we were dating.
Yeah, it was like two peas. There was
Yeah.
no.
I think like 13 days later, not to be exact, I asked her
yeah.
to be my girlfriend.
Okay.
Oh, in the coolest way, he just kind of gave me this look and said, "What do I have to do to make you my girlfriend?"
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you just gotta ask, pal.
See, that's what I feel like. I feel like, some people are awkward. I feel like Alex would say it in a cool way.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
so
like
cool.
he knows what to say
Yeah.
in a movie way.
You know?
Oh yeah, you should have seen the way home from Yosemite. I remember on the way there, I was sitting in the passenger seat, and he was sitting, obviously in the driver's seat. And on the way home, I think after the Forks Burgers in Bass Lake, he just lifted up the centered seat, and I slid on over, and then we were right next to each other on
Yeah.
the way home. And he's got the moves, man.
You just need like a videographer following you guys.
I'm telling you, it was pretty special, and it's been, special ever since.
Yeah, I don't know that I
The
ever.
first time, this is a story that not a lot of people know. Everybody thinks that, everybody asks, oh, do you serenade her before you go to bed and all this crap? And
No, she's here. No.
like the first time that we got, I think it was before or after, right? Maybe after Yosemite. She drove over and we just hung out in my front yard, just a really nice neighborhood. I was
Oh, it would have
living
been
in at the time.
before. I was when I was picking up my brother from that party. That
Oh
he
yeah,
wouldn't tell me
yeah,
where
that's
it
right.
was.
She was in the area and she was picking up her brother from a party, and she had
In my super cool Bronco.
she pulls
Like
up.
old, like the small one, sport one, or the big one?
The big one, like the '93 Bronco.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I still had it.
We were in the bed of my truck. We were just hanging out, and she was the first one. She sang me 2 songs on the guitar
Oh my goodness.
and serenaded me.
I don't know who that person was because I didn't ever sing or play guitar really
Are you
ever in
serious?
front of anybody.
Yeah.
No, I kind of taught myself a little bit. I was
Yeah.
super shy about it. And I think that I just was like, if I'm gonna date this man, if I want this man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to.
I just remember
really-
being like, I'm the musician, and she's singing to me. I love this. You know, like
Once I hooked him, I never did it again.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to ask, like, so were you, like, in your room as, like, a 13-year-old, like, practicing with the guitar?
No, I had just started my senior year there. My
Oh.
brother's friends were all very musical, and he had this one friend, Matt May, who was an incredible guitarist, super, just like naturally gifted, you know. And when he was over, my brother's friends were always so much cooler to me than he was. They would always want to include me.
Yeah.
And so,
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. He's cool now, but you know how it is, teenagers. And so I remember that he had inspired me to just look up a couple of chords, and I taught myself, I mean, I think like the 4 or 5 basic,
Yeah.
you know, open chords. And
But she did it.
And then I just started playing. So I was 17 learning, and I mean, I still just barely playing when I did that for you,
She-
sang Wagon Wheel.
she also had taken like a year's worth of bass lessons.
Yeah, bass lessons when I was
Yeah.
younger, maybe 5th
Which is
grade.
what she plays in the band now. This is all before me.
So, wait, what were the 2 songs that you sang?
It would have been Wagon Wheel and
Wheel and
I don't remember the other one.
like a train or something like that. I bet.
Like Drops of Jupiter or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in Oakdale. Go ahead. Let's fast forward
Yeah.
to how do you get to Santa Cruz?
So actually, this is kind of funny. I've always had family in SoCal, and you have always traveled to Monterey, Pacific Grove area
Yeah.
on your vacations. You didn't spend a lot of time here in Santa Cruz. So when we visited my family, he came along and, you know, got to know the Capitola Village, and then he was like, "This
Oh,
place
yeah.
is awesome."
I mean, like 12 years ago or 11 years ago, when every single building had music in it, it was pretty. And it's still one of my favorite places. But now it's just kind of just the sandbar.
yeah, the Sandbar's the
And
only one with music
it was,
now.
I mean, we walked down Esplanade with her grandparents. There was a band at Margaritaville, dueling pianos at Paradise.
Yeah.
Somebody at the Fog Bank.
Yeah.
Solo artists at the Bay Bar. It was just like
Somebody at
what I was
Zelda's.
like, what is this place? Like, I need to come here. you know?
Right. So he was dropping off CDs and wanting to come here and play, and he was getting some gigs. He just kind of commute from Oakdale.
Yeah.
And I was at the time, I had left UC Merced, and I was at the time where I was looking to transfer to a state school. I was planning on Stan State, but something was making me concerned about only applying to transfer to one school. And so I just decided to apply to CSU Monterey Bay as a backup, just in case for some reason I didn't get into Stan. I didn't want to waste any time. And then it totally backfired because I get the acceptance letter from Monterey, and I looked at him and I said, shit, I want to go. And
we're
so,
at, we're at sushi one day on my. I still had a job at that point. I was working at the parts department of Steve Chevrolet, which is the dealership in Oakdale, and so I'm in my mechanic shop garb with my name tag on there,
monkey suit.
and on my lunch break at sushi in Oakdale. And she's unfolding the story. She said, "Well, I got accepted to CSUMB, or I can just go to Stan State." And we're just looking at each other, and we're just both like, "Let's do it."
Yeah,
Let's
he was
go."
so awesome. Instead of giving me all the reasons not to go and that this is a more expensive area to live, we don't really know anyone here, we got to rebuild his business from scratch, he just was like, let's do it. And I kind of, at that time, thought, is that even an option? Can we do that?
Yeah.
And so we did. We moved into this tiny little loft apartment on SoCal above a barn.
Yeah.
And started our life together. And it
That
was
was
the best
20
move. 17?
16.
2016.
December 2016.
Right, because it was right before my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you guys, at that point, are you guys looking for jobs, but are you just playing straight music? Like, were you just
It gets a
like-
little complicated.
That was pretty much my defining moment. It wasn't like the next day we moved, so it was like the next couple months that we had, and I pretty much got everything aligned to where I was just going to be full-time musician. We were still commuting back and forth to Oakdale. I was doing some part-time stuff for iced tea company I used to work for, and
Yeah, we were definitely supplementing the gaps
Yeah.
while we
Yeah,
while we transitioned over to full time, and then
Yeah.
I ended up needing back surgery, and it turned into this whole thing where I wasn't able to go to school or work, and we kind of got thrown into like full blown couple like responsibilities and
Yeah.
adult
Adult,
things
yeah.
right away, and
That happens.
Yeah,
totally,
yeah.
totally. And we learned so much, and he was so amazing and didn't skip a beat and just like took care of me and kicked ass working and did all the things. And then, you know, life really just kind of unfolded for us here, and it's been amazing.
yeah.
How did, so and we'll fast forward a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but how did it converge into both of you, like you playing together?
Yeah.
It was, my band was an entirely different. I mean, even my first person that I ever played with, his name was Johnny Shatswell. Ever played with, jam with, ever, and then it moved to another form, which was Live Again. Then when I moved over here, two of those members kind of stayed back in Oakdale, and Ryan Price, who still lives around here, he was still my bass player. I moved him over to Santa Cruz and got him hooked up with the whole music scene. We parted ways peacefully and did our own thing, and I picked up a bunch of other people. Sandbar's kind of been the hub for people that I just like, good musicians and good people form there. It's been a little over 2 years, I would say.
Yeah, I would say he's always been very open to allowing me to join and be a part
I've
of the
always
music.
wanted her to be a backup singer.
He
I know
said it
I know
for
she's got a
years.
great voice. I'm just like, whenever you're ready, I want you to be able to get on the mic and just do
Right.
it. Because I know you have a great voice. I want you to do it. And
I was so hesitant because I was so terrified that it would affect our dynamic. I thought, this is the coolest thing that I've ever had in my life, this friendship and relationship and this thing that we've got going. I was so afraid that I was going to mess it up.
And she's been part of it in more than just like an audience member's point of view. Like whenever I write a song and we're sitting getting creative at the card table, she's right across from me, helping me co-write a song or giving me ideas and being supportive and saying, maybe you should change that, And as soon as I'm learning a song that I'm writing in the first 5 minutes of playing it, she's singing the harmony. So she's very much there for the creation or the birth of all this music. And
it's a true partnership.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was 2 Twilight concerts ago where I just said, like a couple weeks before, maybe not even a couple weeks, maybe just like
Oh, dude, you gave me 1 week's time.
maybe 1 week. I said, hey, you know what? You used to play the bass. It's going to be like riding a bike. You have a great voice. We're just going to do this, and you're going to.
You didn't ask. You just sort of told me you're playing. You're going to sing backups for me at the concert.
Yeah.
And I was just sort of like in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Were you nervous?
Oh my God! Let me tell you something. Peach was the wrong choice. I was just sweat dripping. It was awful. But you get done with the first gig and it just gets easier.
But that was a pretty big gig too.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It
Nothing
wasn't
like
just at
sink
the
or swim,
sandbar.
babe.
It was like 800 people.
Yeah.
But
No.
she's ever since it's been the best decision. So she plays bass on a lot of the tunes, and me and Mick can do our dual harmony guitar.
Mm-hmm.
It just works out very, very well.
It does. It seemed like you I think with a lot of musicians, I think that's what happens. Like you keep on working until you find the
Yeah.
magic of what hey,
Exactly,
this is
yeah.
our secret sauce.
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
exactly.
it's been so cool. I thought that I really loved just watching you play and being a part of it behind the scenes. But being able to share the stage and then, like you said, there's a lot of co-writing that goes on. There's a lot of co-creation that goes on, and it's just become like such a cool thing to be a part of. It's so much, not at all what I would have imagined for my life,
Yeah,
truly.
you're in a band.
Yeah, I'm in a
Yeah.
band, man. I know. How cool am I? But it's so great. And we have so much support from our families, too. My mom's the cutest because she was just so excited for me to go to college and have this very, very specific career. And then this is obviously the opposite of that in a lot of ways. And she's so stoked and she's so happy. And she and my dad are both so supportive.
Yeah.
And your parents are so supportive.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot.
That is really
To
cool.
pursue a dream and have people behind you is really cool.
And it's not even a ulterior motive. It wasn't even something I was thinking about. But everybody loves to see maybe it sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but I mean, we got undeniable chemistry. On stage, I don't care who we're in front of. Just like when we look at each other whenever we're singing, and it really, for the audience as well, they really enjoy seeing it.
Yeah, I think it's very
it's
honest.
true.
It's not put on. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a production. It's not an act. It's just it's
Yeah.
a lot. It's really a vulnerable place to be
Yeah.
honest. But we just do it,
Yeah.
and there's no regrets.
I think it really translates to all of your life. I mean, honestly, I was looking at you when you're sitting down here and you're touching his arm. You know what I mean? And you're not thinking about it. It's just this
Yeah.
is who we are, and it
Exactly.
translates to the stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I do think it works. When
Yeah.
I see you guys on
Yeah.
stage,
Yeah.
okay, that's not a forced, fake.
No.
This is what at this point. This is what how we look at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Exactly.
so fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we have a blast, and there's
Yeah.
been a lot of reasons, maybe personally, not for me not to pursue a music career, feeling like I'm jumping in late and all these things. But there are so many more reasons to do it,
Yeah.
and it's so healing, and it's just the best. It's the best feeling. I can't say enough what it's like to be with someone who is pursuing a dream. It's just so inspiring. It makes you feel like I can do that.
Yeah.
Why not? We don't have to
every
settle.
couple can do this. Not every couple can work together.
No.
How many hours?
Yeah.
What you do is also emotionally draining, not just physically.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, putting on a show is a mental
It is.
roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
It is.
the setup to like the show, and then like, okay, now it's over.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
it's-
Totally.
Yeah, now we just go home.
Exactly.
Yeah, I read like what show we're gonna watch on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
like it's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird
Yeah.
come down at the end of the night for sure.
Well, I would say that we really learned about our working dynamic through the virtual,
Yeah.
the live streams that we were doing during
Oh,
COVID,
yeah.
during
Yeah.
lockdown. That was something we just got kind of thrown into. He just immediately said, "We're going to just live stream. We're going to figure this out." So I became the camera
Was
woman.
that from like it was in your house?
Yeah.
And you got a whole setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
We
remember
moved
that, yeah.
into our brand new place that brand new to us, but
Right.
into our new place in La Selva, and had astronomical rent for the first time because we could justify how busy we were and how
Right,
much
we were
money
working a
making.
ton.
We moved in March 15th of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
March 17th of 2020, everything shut down. And so my landlord called me, no gigs. Does that mean you guys are going to pay the
Yeah,
rent?
how about that
Yeah.
rent? So we had 30 days to like figure out, and he didn't skip a
I
beat.
contacted Apple. I got the latest phone. I got a tripod. I started to get all the mics and all the lights and everything. I took our whole entire front room apart, and that was the set. And we just started live streaming right away. No time lost.
And that was super rewarding and super cool. And we were doing it because it was like, we're not going to do nothing. He's awful at sitting around and doing nothing. He
Yeah.
has to be doing something. So that became kind of an out of necessity thing. And
Yeah.
then it turned into,
Did it like 3 times a week,
Monday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, Friday.
and we didn't have any government aid at that time. We paid our rent solely because of our live stream.
Totally just through donations, saying this is a free broadcasting. We just
Yeah.
want to bring music to your homes in this
Yeah.
scary time. Here's a tip jar, and it was paying our rent. It was wild,
You
but
guys pulled it off.
Yeah.
More than anybody
Yeah.
else.
It
Yeah,
was-
I remember that.
It was
yeah.
fun, yeah.
well, that's when we realized. I remember thinking,
How well we worked with
yeah,
each other.
well, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, we can be a team in every way. We should do this,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
been fun. Been really
Okay,
cool.
so I want to find out like the musical direction moving forward, but before we do that, I want to talk about the Maui trip.
yeah.
So can you? And I'm actually kind of confused about like what happened because like you hear different stories.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And, watching Inside Edition, like I feel like they missed some of what happened.
It doesn't matter how big the news agency is, everybody
Always
missed
miss
something.
something.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's the coolest thing to do an interview like that and then you watch it back and you realize how much false news there must be out there. Because I was
dude,
like,
I know.
that's not exactly what, well, all
Yeah.
right, okay, well
Just-
that was edited,
Just crazy, man.
you
I
know.
think people
Yeah.
don't understand that about like if you're in the media and you have a local newspaper, you have a national newspaper, whatever. But 80% of the time, there's something wrong
Yeah.
in it. So it makes me think about everything else that we
Exactly.
Like, okay, we're never getting the full
Exactly.
story.
Never,
of
not
anything.
once. Yeah.
No.
Except for today, right now. This is
Yeah, yeah.
totally true.
But it's because it's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unless you guys are lying.
yeah. Everything has been a lie.
Exactly. Yeah.
I never
You
even
guys
met.
touched
I've never
each
even
other.
met.
Yeah,
her
I don't
before.
know. Who are you?
Yeah. We just play the show, then we go to our separate houses.
Yeah, yeah.
Can
It's
you
a whole
imagine?
course, Yeah. You're playing off good. Okay, so you have a corporate gig in Maui.
Yes.
Yeah, so like start from there. What happened?
So yeah, we had 2 shows set up for Motorola to play in Maui in the Kihei area. So they flew us out there. We had a really nice condo right on the beach, and we flew in the same morning that was our first show, and that was Monday, June 3rd. And we had a great show, long day, long flight. Wake up the next morning. We have our first day. We don't have anything. We are completely off. And we already knew we wanted to drive the road to Hana. We upgraded our rental car to a convertible Mustang GT. And we're just like, we're going to go have the best day, doing all the tourist things. We have a great breakfast. We had a great time.
It was a beautiful day.
And so anyway, we're driving past the road to Hana. We got all these recommendations from locals to go down to past 7 sacred pools to this waterfall that only locals know about.
Yeah, you had to kind of hop this little guardrail and sneak in there.
We hiked in. It was just us. It was the most crazy, breathtaking experience. We walked down to Black Sand Beach, which was right across the street, and we get into our car, and it's 6:30 p.m. We're on the south side of the volcano, so it's getting darker than it would obviously on the north. And Anyway, so I put into our GPS our condo location, and it says to continue on the old Hana Highway and go to Kihei. It doesn't even offer the fact that we could go back the way we came, because
Right,
it's
most
like,
people would turn around and go back the way, but we had gone so far up, it was like, just keep going.
it's like 4 hours to go the way we came, or an hour and 15 to get back to the house. And I'm just like, obviously, didn't even think twice, go.
We had the top down, it was a nice night,
Yeah.
and we were just enjoying ourselves.
And so we get in the car, and we continue southwest on Old Hana Highway, which turns into Pialani Highway. And we're driving for about 15 minutes, and it kind of comes up to this headland that we're looking around. We're like, man, this looks like Ireland. Ireland's kind of like our home away from home. There's like this beautiful bluff on the right-hand side going up to this big mountain, and then it's just like ocean. Just like, man.
And it was a very small little road, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it felt very like local.
Very Irelandy.
Yeah.
And it was just gorgeous. The stars were coming out, and she was just like hands up in the air.
I love a convertible.
Convertible, like
Again, you need a videographer
Yeah.
everywhere you guys go.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
legitimately having the best time.
I was queuing up some tunes. We were just talking about cool stuff.
Yeah, and so we come across where there's all these little huts, house-looking things on the land side of the highway, and there's this Toyota Tacoma that is backed into this driveway with the nose of his truck almost in the road, and
Like he's ready to pull out.
yeah, just like he's ready to pull out, and he doesn't pull out because doesn't want to pull in front of me. That's what I assume. And we see there's a person in the driver's seat. No big deal. Continue driving. At the rental car agency, all around the island, everybody just said, hey, when you're on the road to Hana, you're doing any scenic routes where there's curves and you're not familiar with the road, there's locals that drive that road every day, and they don't want to get stuck behind a local that's like, oh, look at these bananas, you know. And,
These bananas.
and so they just said, they recommended, they just said, pull off on the side of the road and wave them on. I must have done that 15 times that day.
they were cruising.
Up until this point. And so whenever we go past this truck, the truck pulls behind us and he starts to speed up, getting really close to us. I pull off, I wave him on, I say, hey, thanks, whatever. And then about 2 minutes later, we see that there's a Toyota Tacoma. I'm not sure if it's the same one, but there's a Toyota Tacoma pulled off on the left-hand side. And us being from Santa Cruz, it was very much so a beach surf truck with a canvas back. And so, I thought he had his surfboards in there. He was looking at the surf. He wasn't concerned with what was going on. He was just parked off on the side of the road. We pass him. About 5 minutes later, a Toyota Tacoma pulls up and is right on our butt again. And I pull off the road and I'm like, hey, go ahead. He goes off. Didn't think anything of it.
I remember thinking that his left tail light was out, which is the same as the one that we had let pass first. I remember thinking, that's not the same truck, right? And we kind of made a joke about it. Like, deja vu kind of thing,
And so there's this point in which where you're alongside the ocean, and then there's the bluff on this side goes up to the top of the mountain, and there's a little spot where it goes inland, and it's called Manawanui Gulch. And we're turning right, and we're going back out into the gorge, and there's a one-lane bridge that we're coming across to kind of cut across to this gorge. And there's a Toyota Tacoma parked off to the right when the one-lane bridge branches out to 2 lanes. So I had to kind of really slow down because he was kind of in the road. And so I was probably going definitely less than 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And as we approached the truck, I have very good, sense of if something is wrong, red flag.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting any kind of like, this is wrong for us to be here, this is not right, anything. Never had a red flag in my mind. And as we approach the back of his truck, he opens up his door and he steps out. I slam on the brakes, and he is about 2 or 3 feet from the front of our Mustang GT with a 9mm right in our face.
He's got a hood on. He's got a mask. All we can really see is this part of his face, and he's just yelling, turn off the car,
get the
leave
F out
the keys,
of the truck, out of the car. And
give me everything you've got. I want your jewelry. I want everything.
all valuables, and get out of the car. Start walking that way now.
Empty your pockets. Empty your pockets.
And when you're at the rental car agency and you're getting the Mustang GT convertible, you're thinking, man, what a cool car. Not the case.
Not the case.
When there's a person any size over the 5 foot tall, and you're standing, we're about this tall right now in the convertible.
Yeah, he's got the gun up here. It's like a vulnerable position to be in.
He was standing like on top of us, and
what are you gonna do? Risk one of us getting shot?
No.
Gun? I mean, there was just no. We just were like, take it, take
so
whatever, hands up.
I had my guitar in the back. I had all my equipment. We had a bunch of other valuables of her uncles and stuff in the car. We were both in swim trunks. And so we didn't have any pockets for our phones or any wallet or anything because we had just got done swimming in the waterfall. And so everything was just in the car. We had zero valuables. And so I shut the car off, left the key in there without even thinking.
He said, start walking.
We just started walking the other direction.
Yeah.
And so for a second, as we're walking very fast away from this, we look at each other. We kind of, wow, that was scary.
Yeah, like that was nuts.
But we're
over.
still alive.
It's done.
He's got the car. He's got all of our stuff. Whatever. It's going to be a long walk back.
Yeah, we don't know where we're going, but we'll figure it out.
And so about maybe 20 seconds later, he gets in the car. He put the top up. He rolled the windows up. I could hear it all behind me. And he started up the car and he starts driving in the same direction that we were driving initially.
So we almost had a sense of relief at this point. It's over. He's got all of our shit, which is annoying, but it's gone.
And then he turns the car around.
Yeah, we can hear him making a turnaround and coming back towards us.
And he kind of like burnt rubber to come towards us. And at this point, we're climbing up the gulch on the opposite side of we're climbing up the road on the opposite side of the gulch to where we initially turned right to go inland. And we're just looking back and we're like, oh my God, he's chasing us.
So we start running.
So we start running and we hide behind this rock, this big boulders. There was 2 of them on the side of the road, right on the other side of the guardrail. And so we hopped the guardrail. We got behind this rock the size of this couch.
Yeah.
And our heads are about road level. And we're crouching and we're just scooting along as he's making his way, this way. And the car is from here to the fireplace 4 feet away from us because it's just right on the side of the road, you know? And it's just sheer cliff down to the ocean. And
he's yelling at us. He's gonna find us. Show yourself.
Show yourself.
Where are you? He's pissed.
Yeah.
Because I think he thought it was gonna be an easy thing, us just walking on the road. He didn't anticipate us hiding from him.
And so he goes on the other side of the turn. We hear him turn around very quickly, come back around. He's going very, very slow. So we're scooting along the edge here again to make sure that we're not being seen by him. He drives back down to where he held us at gunpoint initially. And he says, if you don't get out on the count of, when I count down from blah, 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 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, shoots the gun off.
That's when we knew. We don't know.
We don't know where he was.
We're hiding, but we just hear him count down, and we hear the gun.
And
at
that's
point,
kind of
we
when
were
it
like,
sunk in. And I looked at her and I said,
yeah.
You think he's going to kill us? And she just said, yeah.
Yeah. It's a very strange feeling.
He wasn't going to give us,
He wasn't going to just
give us our car back.
Right, exactly.
Shooting the
Like
gun,
the fact that he's risking being seen and being still near the scene. Yeah, it was just this very strange sinking feeling of we're going to die today. And there's this weird calm that comes along with it.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting thing to know now that we're past it and everything. But it's like you just accept it and you just prepare yourself to die. And
I just kind of grabbed her hands and I just said, I love you so much.
Yeah, he gave me the
this
doesn't
look like this looks like it could be it, because we're not gonna be able to hide behind this rock all night.
No.
And
we had this moment. We said goodbye.
Yeah, we said goodbye to each other. And that's kind of really the only thing that we're still residual dealing with right now is the conceptually, coming to terms with the fact that we said goodbye to each other. And
which most people do not have.
No.
I'm 29 years old. I wasn't ready to say goodbye to my husband.
We have a whole different perspective on life. And maybe within 20 seconds of that happening, I just kind of like I don't know if it was adrenaline or I snapped out of the realization.
Yeah.
Something snapped inside me, and I just said, no, this isn't. And I just like looked at her, and she was, crying. And I just looked at her, and I brought her head up, and I'm like, we're Alex and Justina. we got.
You said that.
We're the Luceros, man.
We look at me. We got a lot more life. This is not where it ends. We're going to Ireland later this year. We're going to the East Coast. We got a whole gang of people back home that are waiting to see us play music. We got our dogs. We got our families.
You got this fighter instinct.
This is not going to happen. This guy. I even said this guy doesn't know who he's fucking with.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know. And I said if he goes back and he does another 3-point turn, we got about 20 seconds to run across this hill and start climbing whatever this
he
this
just
mountain
said
is.
we need to get across the street, and I said let's do it. And we didn't have a lot of time to decide. It was just sort of like just instant decisions. Let's get across the street.
He starts making the 3-point turn, which means he's looking in his rearview mirror, worried about where he's driving, obviously. And we just bolt across the street. I throw her up on the bluff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm climbing up the bluff, and as I'm climbing up, we hear a car come. And for a second, I'm like looking at her like, oh man, should we flag this car down for help? There was something intuition-wise telling us not to. Mm-hmm. And the car was a Ford Transit taxi. Mm-hmm. Had taxi written on the front, a light on the front of it. And
something said, why would there be a taxi on this local side of the?
And we're looking, and I remember passing the taxi coming in, one of the cars we passed on the highway. Mm-hmm. And we're on this bluff about probably 8 to 10 feet above the road, which we're right out of the line of sight for the people in the cars, which is a perfect place for us to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were just laying flat up on this bluff.
Stuck our head up and saw down at the bridge. They both got out of the car and were cooperating. So this was the first of, now there's 2 cars looking for our whereabouts. This guy was in on it. Yeah. And so at some point, this is going out of chronological time, but just so everybody's clear, so I don't mess up, confused what actually happened.
Yeah.
At some point throughout the night, there were 3 separate cars looking for us.
So if we had stayed on the boulder, there's no way we would have been able to hide from both vantage points.
But the thing is that the taxi was on the east end of the road, making sure there was no through traffic. And the other car was on the west side of the road, making sure that there was this window that this guy, Christopher Helmer, who they've caught and who they've, is in jail right now in custody, could do what he was going to do. Mm-hmm. And what he was going to do, as we found out later, was get our belongings, shoot us as we're running down the road, and they were going to go dump us somewhere. Because
it's very remote.
Maui PD and all the locals don't want you to know this, but there are legitimately tens, if not hundreds, of missing people on the road, where the same narrative is what would have happened to us. Missing car found 2 weeks after the fact that the missing person report was gone. And these people are still missing from like 2005. And so...
And a lot of the locals are like, I've never heard of anything like this happening. It goes very unreported.
He just didn't want the blood in the car. That's all that he wanted. He wanted us to send us on the road, shoot us in the back, and now he's got our belongings in a few days to do what he wants with it, whatever. And
so now we're on this hill, and we're watching these 3 vehicles circle up and back. And luckily for us, they assumed that we had scaled the ocean side and that we were on the beach or hiding over there. So they were primarily focusing their search along there.
That 5-second time of window that we ran across the road is the only thing that saved us from everything. Because if we would have been 2 seconds behind, we would have been seen by the taxi.
Yep.
If we would have gone before he made that 3-point turn, he could have shot us.
Yep. And then knowing where we were going, at this point we were like 99% sure that he had no idea that we were up on the hillside. And at this point we realized too that there's no going back to the road. Because initially I think you think we'll just flag someone down that can help us.
Yeah.
We can't trust anyone on this road. We don't know who we're dealing with.
Yeah, those 3 people, it could have been somebody else. It could have been 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
this is desolate. This is like, as far as I can see, this is just dirt fields of old country, local Maui people who I'm sure are some wonderful people, but who knows if that's not one of their nephews or their kid? They
Right,
know,
we
they
didn't know the
about it.
scope of his connections. And so at this point, we realized that the only way that we can survive is to just get as far away from this road as we can.
Yeah.
Get as far away from them, which is the only direction there is up. And
I just said we need to get on the other side of this peak of this mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And from where we were standing, it was like Mount Madonna. That it would take 2 or 3 hours to hike.
Yeah.
And it was going to be about it.
We had no idea we were at the foot of Haleakala.
Yeah.
We had no idea, and it was dark, and so you
All
see
the
that first
places,
ridge.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
there was no trail. I had all these local people that it just astonishes
Yeah,
me
it's funny how this
that
works.
if somebody went through a trauma, for me to comment on their social media posts, it's like, well, this doesn't make sense to me. Okay.
It didn't make sense to us either,
I'm
man.
not
It was out of
interested,
necessity,
but anyway, there was no trail, there was no road, there was no path.
No, we're running
There
and
was no-
tripping over boulders
There was no
and like
there was
falling
no
over
lights.
shit.
We didn't have water until the next day, and
You didn't
so
have your phone,
didn't have anything.
flashlight.
Anything.
No, I had sandals and it was so wet and cold in the night that I had to just take them off. I was scaling most of this barefoot. It was
And
freezing.
You guys didn't have shirts? Like you said, you just got out of the water. Like,
He had
were
a
you like-
he
I
had a
had-
shirt and trunks on, and I
trunks.
had a bikini and like one of those little like cloth kind of cover ups.
So barely.
Barely
it's not
anything.
a lot
No.
to keep yourself warm.
And it gets very, very cold on that side of the island too.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, after we saw the 3 cars, we see them all stop in the same location, and they put a drone up in the air
What?
to
Yeah.
search for us.
Yeah, I had a searchlight. It was that kind of thing where we're looking at it like, no way, and you see
And we
the way
see
it
this
moves.
green light and this flashing red going, and we're just like, oh my god.
So that's the third time now we're thinking we're toast.
If they
If they
have
have-
a
Yeah.
If that
infrared
thing
or
comes up the
something-
mountain, we can't hide from a drone. What are we gonna do? So
Yeah.
we run and we hide under this kind of like bushy tree, and we just lay flat in this wet grass. And I remember that you can just feel the bugs like crawling on you, and you just have to be quiet. And we're trying to slow our breath, and we're trying to be calm, and we're just telling ourselves it's gonna be okay, and that they're not gonna send it up the mountain, and they don't know that we're here, and they're not gonna see us, and we're just quiet and still. And
we start.
yeah, you start.
It's so cold,
our teeth
you
were
start
chattering.
shivering, and so we just had to keep moving and hiked all the way through the night. We had to hike up and climb 3 or 4 game fences, which is like 6 foot worth of, not barbed wire,
like
but they
hog
call it
panel?
chain link,
Yeah,
chain link
chain
fence,
fence.
and then
Yeah.
a hog panel on top of that to keep all the big game out. I don't know what they're what, but
Yeah. At some point, we heard the wild boar, and I'm thinking, now we're gonna have to run from these
Yeah,
guys.
wild boar,
Like, oh my
yeah.
god, you know,
yeah.
But
And so, pretty much to keep a long story short,
Yeah, we don't have to go.
Some things happened that were other, in our opinion, life-threatening things. But the most important thing is that we hiked all the way through the night.
Mm-hmm.
We hiked into the next day, and
Like
so we
8
started
hours or so
8 p.m. on Tuesday, June 4th, and we weren't rescued until we were at the observatory at the very highest point of Haleakala around 6:30 or 7 p.m.
the next day. So it was almost a full 24
It was-
hours of hiking
Yeah.
straight. We couldn't stop because in the nighttime it's so cold you can't stop, and in the daytime it's so hot. Every time you stop and you're in the shade, it's like we have to keep pushing.
Yeah.
You had to just
No
keep.
water, no food.
No, we
were able to
were
find
lucky,
a-
and we found like a water tank that these local hunters would have had. Like they're almost like their little dry camp that they had, which
There was somebody
saved
looking out
us.
for us that
Oh,
pointing
yeah.
us in the right direction, because we could have
100%.
gone up a million different ways,
Yeah.
and the exact route that we took us to this. It's actually like Maui government to maintain and land and to like run cattle. Mm-hmm. And there we found a green little water tank,
Yeah, he
by
said
the-
there's no way that's water.
by the
and we had
grace
to
of
check it
whatever.
out, and it was.
and we found
just-
some other things that we took that were like crucial to us, surviving. She had made like a little SOS thing to see if any helicopters were going to come by. And when we got
Got
home,
real Lord of the Fliesy real quick.
Yeah, that does.
when we got home, we had got a message from this guy that worked for the state of Maui. He said, "I wanted to know, was this you guys that kind of took apart our camp and put SOS out and drank out of our water tank?" He wasn't saying it in a mean way. He just was saying that, like, there was, for whatever reason, there was a few Maui locals that were not saying that we were telling, but like
They
we were telling
they
a
thought
story.
we were making it up.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we got a lot of backlash in that respect, which is strange.
A lot of
It's
backlash.
crazy why you would get
A lot of backlash, i.e., for disgruntled Maui
Well,
natives.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
There wasn't any more backlash than that. That was it. But it was really, really cool for us sitting in California. It was a really emotional thing for me and for us when this guy justified and said, "Oh man, like I'm so sorry what you guys went through. I saw the SOS. I thought it just was one of our workers messing with us. But that story that I saw on the news is legitimate. This was you guys. You guys were hiking up through there. Like they get helicoptered out there.
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah, it's not
That's
really
not
a
amazing.
hikeable
No,
place.
no.
Yeah.
We had
did
this.
it.
We had another guy reach out to us that does hiking tours in Maui, who one of the 4 people initially that was saying that our story didn't line up and there's no way that we could have gone through that terrain. I guess a week or so afterwards, he went there and like looked at the path. Not that we were looking for his validation at all or caring at all what he had to think or what he thought that he knew, but for him to say, to retract his statement and say, man, I went to where you guys started and realized that it is possible. It would be the hardest thing that anybody ever had to do, but it would be possible for you to get there. Like we weren't waiting for that justification.
But it does feel good that,
But it was
okay,
for us
yeah.
sitting at home trying to still put the pieces together
Yeah.
and to realize that this crazy out of body experience actually happened to us.
Right.
It was
yeah.
validating for us to be like, wow, okay, so
Yeah.
Because I would say that was a real thing that we dealt with coming home. If I hadn't had a witness to this experience, I think that my brain would want me to think that I made it up. It's such an unbelievable
It's that-
thing.
yeah, it's that big
You
of
want to
a
protect
crazy-
yourself from it, and it doesn't feel real.
When we were hiking up initially, like in the first hour, there was a time where I didn't even like do it in front of her because I didn't want to look like a fool, but I kind of like stopped and I just was like winced because for a split second it was so terrible and life-threatening and god-awful, and to think that she was in this as well, I was hoping that I was dreaming.
You're trying to wake yourself
And
up.
I was trying to wake myself up from this dream. And I wasn't doing it for her as a show. I was doing it as my own, like, wow, this is actually occurring right now.
Yeah.
And I opened my eyes and we're still on the foot of this mountain. I'm just like, well, I tried, And so
It was the wildest thing that I have ever experienced. And there were so many things where, okay, let's just push to this ridge, and then you get to the top and you come over the peak and you see that there's 2 more.
Yeah.
We had
It's
no
kind of
idea.
feeding a little bit,
Oh,
like,
totally.
like
Oh, it
it's
was
back
terrible,
and
yeah.
forth,
it was
yeah.
terrible.
It was 10,000 feet. What's crazy what helps me kind of conceptualize this is that, we got married on the cliffs of Teelan, Slieve League in Ireland. And, those are the highest sea cliffs in all of Europe, or first or second highest.
And when you look at those
You're like,
from
sea level.
the landing where you can view from the viewpoint, you look at those and you think to yourself, man, if I ever had to hike up that would be just insane.
So where we hiked was more than 5 times that height.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it was
I
that
see
kind
the
of thing where
picture
you're
you
like,
guys got married. I know that
Yeah.
that is huge.
Haleakala is 5 of those. And over the course of about 12 miles as we were walking.
yeah,
And we did that in about
Through the heat.
22 and a half, 23 hours.
through the cold, dehydrated, no food.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was, I don't know. I'm almost to the point now where I'm grateful for this experience, which is the weirdest thing that I would ever imagine that I would say, because it's just, there's so much perspective gained from that kind of, I remember just thinking that there are all these things that I worry about, all these everyday stressors that just don't matter. The only thing that mattered on that mountain was you and I making it out alive.
Yeah.
And it just was like, if I have you and we're okay,
Yeah.
nothing else matters,
Do you really feel that that's, I know a lot of people say that when they go through this experience of like, okay, my perspective has changed. Does that almost come in your head daily almost?
Every day.
Like when you see like when something doesn't work right, when someone cuts you off, and or like it's just happening more often.
Yeah, it's like my new baseline.
Yeah.
Are we gonna die today?
Yeah.
No? Then I'm good. You know?
Which is in a way kind of awesome.
It is kind of
is.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like I let people over to my house before I vacuumed now.
Yeah,
Can you believe that?
So that's what needs to happen to me and my wife. Yeah.
For me, I have a little bit of a shorter fuse with incapability.
Yeah.
When I go to like a coffee shop, not here, all you guys, because they're the best.
Yeah.
But when you go to a coffee shop and they don't even like
acknowledge
that
you.
you're even there, and
Yeah.
you're like more of a nuisance to them, I'm just thinking to myself, I want to just say, listen up. I just almost died 2 months ago,
Yeah.
and I'm sure whatever minuscule problems you're going through are terrible. But
Can I just have my coffee?
Put a smile on your face and try to have a good day.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's kind of one thing that I struggle with. But if anything, I think that our perspective, capacity, is just truly enlarged, for lack of a better term. But at the same time, we're still dealing with PTSD of everything.
Yeah, there's some post-traumatic stuff.
There's
that
a few
we're
times
working
where
out.
we were in crowds, or I just did a wedding on Old San Jose Road where I was packing up stuff in the middle of at Rancho Soquel at night alone, and I crossed a bridge, and I just was like, oh my God, I'm scared of the dark now.
Yeah, there's some fear
it took me back there, and I just was like, I kind of like ran with my speakers, like,
I mean, right now, when you guys started the experience, I don't know, I feel sometimes like my head was getting numb. Like I was like, I felt it, and I'm just listening to your story.
It's heavy.
Yeah, and so no matter what, you can almost separate yourself from the situation a little bit, but you also never will.
No, it'll never. I think it'll never leave us. And there are parts of that experience throughout those 22 plus hours that it's almost like a snapshot in my brain. I'll never forget the look on his face when he said goodbye, seeing us go from having that adrenaline and that energy to push to after that whole next day, then our speed started to lessen. I remember that you went from being in front of me to being behind me, and then there was this like, is this how I lose him? Like there were so many things, and there's so many emotions that you just kind of then have to, you don't get to deal with them then because all you're worried about is surviving. And so now it's a lot that we deal with now, and that with that realization that we were rescued finally at the end, there's nothing like that. It's sitting in the
Park
Ranger's truck. Finally, it felt just like culture shock. We were just in the wild, and then now we're in the back seat of this, Ford truck with the windows down, and she's giving us water and food and asking what we need. And it was like I didn't even know if I was going to see a person ever again.
No.
It just felt.
That must be such a weird, like happy. And this is not me yet. This is like a weird.
Exactly.
Oh,
what am I
totally.
doing in this, it's
Yeah.
a position where the last 24 hours. And
Yeah.
We talked about it even up on the volcano, that we recognized that there was going to be before Maui us and after Maui us, and that they were not going to look the same.
Yeah.
And it's
We
very
did
true.
a lot of. We had almost 24 hours to have nothing but talk. The first 4 hours we weren't doing well. Until the sun came up from 8 p.m. until like 5 p.m. It
5 a.m.
It was just 5 a.m. Sorry, it was just sheer fright.
Yeah, just heart pounding.
Just like a heart attack. Probably took off 2 years of my heart just because of how fast it was beating. When the sun came up the next day, not that there was any point in time where we were relaxed, but we did a lot of reflecting as we were hiking up the hill to get to rescue.
Yeah, the goal changed. It was less like run and flee, because now we felt at least far enough away from them, unless they had friends up on the mountain or eyes on us somehow.
Yeah.
We did that initial.
It was just to get to safety at this point.
Right, now it was like new goal in mind. We just have to get there. We just have to, and we learned a lot about, not that we didn't think we were a great team before, but there wasn't a second that we weren't just on each other's team, pushing each other. agreeing on decision making. That, you know, there was a time where we could have flagged down some people on horseback and they had dogs and we just weren't sure, and so we decided we need to run from them, and there was more hiding, and there was just so much that we did together, and I know that I wouldn't have survived without you pushing me, and
Same.
and I know that I wasn't surviving for myself. It was like, I have to do this for him, you know, and that's just a really, we're fortunate. And now it feels strange, you know, like almost like we're on borrowed time now. It almost feels like, not that we should have died, but kind of, we should have died that day.
It was more likely that we would have died than we would have been here.
And it's like we beat the odds, and so there's this strange, it's like I'm split. Half of me is now kind of taking a little more caution with my I don't know, outside experience. I'm a little more observant about people around me. I'm a little more wary of crowds, of strangers. And then the other half of me is like, we did that, dude. Bring it on. What else can we do? You
come
know?
on, let's do it.
Like you said, when you were on there, it's like, okay, come on. We can do it together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. I really think of when you were in Yosemite at one time.
Yeah.
Like, you were 12 hours there. A big chunk. And then like, you didn't even like, we were those kids.
Yeah.
And then you had no idea of the life experience that you guys are going to have.
Yeah.
Like, what a different world, and how you two have grown together.
Yeah.
Most people do not have an experience. I mean, everybody goes through, a lot of people, everybody has life experiences, and some are bigger in different ways.
Yeah.
But that one is something that really 0.0011 whatever percent of people can experience what you guys have. So in a way, you're fortunate.
Totally.
You're fortunate you made it.
Yeah.
Fortunate that you guys that keep on, like, what's going to be, break a bone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are rock solid.
Yeah. And he's
is.
really impressed me with his perspective, because, you know, obviously we had to identify this man in a lineup, and he's very observant and identified him, you know, right away. And then, of course, curiosity got the best of us, and we saw his mugshot because, you know, obviously we couldn't see his whole face during the robbery. It was just this part that we could see. So seeing his mugshot, seeing that he was arrested, seeing all of that, that almost didn't help me. Seeing his face kind of was hard for me. And he had the most incredible perspective. He just was like, it humanizes him. Like, you want him to be this big monster, and he just looked at me and he's like, he's just a person.
Yeah.
He's just a guy, you know?
That's messed up.
Yeah, like he almost had like
really
a heart for him, where I was like, but this sucks and this is so hard. And, you know, I don't know. I think that the way that we're handling this trauma differently is benefiting us in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
He's been really great for me to kind of,
before we were rescued, while we were making the trek up, we had a lot of sayings like, when we get back, this is what we're going to do. And to bring this all to a front, it's all about music. We were connected at first, legitimately, because of music. Brought together 12 and a half years ago because of music. We went to Maui because of music. We're here in Santa Cruz because of music. And so to me, it was like, I looked at her, and this isn't taking offense to anybody that likes to hear cover music. And I love this song to listen to it, but it was just one of the things that I said on the mountain. I said, you know, if we get home, if I don't play I'll Be Around ever again, it'll be too soon. And pretty much what that meant was, it was nothing against the Spinners or I'll Be Around, because I love that song. It was the fact that our priorities and our perspective has changed. Covers at this point has been something to appease a crowd. Now we're in it to win it for us. We're in it to win it for our passion, our love for what we do. And since we've had that perspective, there's been a lot of things that have happened positively from that. All these festivals that we played, we're going to have gone to the East Coast by the end of this year 2 times. to Europe twice just because of music and because of tours that were going on.
We get to jam in the van, which
Yeah.
is huge.
Which
We're
is-
so excited about
which is
that.
the big thing we were excited for. And,
Yeah.
and so we're in it to win it now with our originals, and we're just like,
It was almost like the push that we needed
Yeah.
in such a awful way. I wish someone could have just written me a letter.
yeah,
That would have been
No,
easier.
But would you have listened?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Not as much.
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what. Yeah. I mean, I love that you've taken this direction, and I think it's resonated with the audience
Mm-hmm.
because their love, the passion for it. I mean, that is hard to go over the hump from playing shows with a song that people knew since they were
Yeah.
12 years old.
Yeah.
To playing a song that you wrote together on your kitchen table.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, but it's worked.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, like,
Yeah.
when I think of a couple of the shows that I've seen recently, it's your originals that I feel were the biggest impact of the night.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, I don't know, I feel like even emotional, just like this
Yeah.
whole
I know it's heavy. I'm sorry. Who needs a drink?
Yeah, I feel like I'm drinking right now, but I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's so cool, and like what you have to look forward to is
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's
It
pretty
is.
cool.
It is really cool. It's really just. I think that. I don't know. It's undeniable. This is the direction that we're going, and it feels
Yeah.
like what we should be doing, and
Yeah.
we're definitely not wasting any time.
No.
You know.
And it sounds so cliche, but it just, when we have leaned into this music, because it's both of our passions at this point, it's just like so liberating, and it just shines a light on what it actually is supposed to be. And when we do, it's kind of like nothing else really matters, you know, in a way.
Oh, totally. It's been after this experience, it's been the only thing for me that
Yeah.
feels good. You know,
Yeah.
there's been
Yeah.
there's been a lot of difficulty. I'm a very social person, and I love people, and that's been a hard adjustment coming back. I feel a little bit less that way. I'm just kind of still piecing myself back together, and I thought that getting on stage and performing was going to be such a challenge, and
Yeah.
instead it's like the only thing that fills up my cup.
Yeah.
And it feels so healing and awesome to be on stage and to perform our originals.
We did
and
it very soon after we got back.
We did.
I was pretty amazed.
And-
You guys were playing really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things where I had called up a bunch of people because we weren't even home for the first gig that we had. We had to, we were still there.
Yeah.
And so I had to call them and let them know. And then we had an East Coast tour set up where we were going to drive cross country. We were going to play like 3 or 4 states along the way, and then be in Boston and New York for a whole weekend. And we were super excited about that. We had the Winnebago all ready to go. And that was the only thing that I had to cancel. I
Yeah.
just said, we're not fit to be driving cross country right now. So we're just going to fly to the East Coast and do our festival shows and
Right.
come back.
Yeah, no drag.
Yeah, that first week, I'm pretty sure we just slept. Like there
But
was
it
so
was-
much recovery physically that needed to
Physically
happen.
And mentally, your
Yeah.
brain is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad, maybe 2 or 3 days after we came home, my dad and her mom came from Oakdale to visit us. And he just said, well, as soon as you guys are comfortable, even if it's maybe like before you feel comfortable, you need to get back to your happy place, which is the stage, which is performing, because you can't let that little choice of words that he used for the guy that held us at gunpoint, you can't let him take that away from you.
Yeah.
And so
At the time, it
even-
almost was like too soon,
It-
dude. Like we're recovering. Leave us
at-
alone.
At the time, it wasn't off-putting. It was just like, okay, we'll go back whenever it's okay for us. But
He was right.
forcing ourselves to go to the East Coast,
Yeah.
I'm talking 5 days after we got home,
Yeah.
and just doing it was
Yeah.
the best thing we ever did.
Yeah.
And it's still the only time when we're on stage, when we're playing music, it's the only time that at least I'm not thinking about it.
Totally.
What happened?
Yeah, it's in the back of your mind and it'll fade. It's like anything. It's like
Yeah.
any trauma. You just have to.
It's gotten easier, but it's still really jacked up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is very soon. I mean, this is really recent.
Yeah.
I know, like, trauma that maybe I've experienced, my family or other people, it does go away where almost a lot of it becomes even like a picture
Yeah.
or a thought.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect you as
Exactly.
It's
Right.
still always going to
Yeah,
be.
for sure.
I mean, it's changed your life.
Yeah.
forever.
It
Like,
has.
It does get better.
Yeah.
over.
But I think it's
Definitely.
a choice that you can make. It can either change it for the worse or it can change it for the better, and we're just doing our best to take the good from it.
Yep.
You know.
So what's next for you two? Like what's the next 2 years look like? What do you want it to look like?
I want it to look like we're on almost a permanent tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
We come home, and this is always going to be our home base.
Oh, yeah.
We love our Santa Cruz, Aptos,
Yeah.
Watsonville community.
Yeah.
I could not more. People come up maybe jokingly and say, "Oh, don't leave us." We go to Ireland. Come back, and really not even because they say that, but honestly, just because we like it. This is our place. We love this. This is always going to be home. And but if I could manifest, I would like to be on a permanent tour around the country, playing the Moe's alleys of the world,
Yeah.
and just doing what we love, spreading it. I don't need to play in front of 20,000 people. I just want to go and play in front of a couple hundred people, a few times a week, and just spreading our music, writing new songs, coming out with a new album by the end of this year is one that we're actually going to do.
Yeah.
And
Being able to focus 100% on the music and on the project,
Yeah.
I think, is what
yeah,
we really want.
That's another thing. Most people don't get to live their passion
Yeah.
the way you do. I mean, you're playing music.
Yeah.
That's
I
your
know.
job.
Yeah.
I know.
Like that is awesome. Like you said, like I'm in a band.
I know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like some people are saying like not knocking accountants.
Yeah.
But like I'm just at an office. Or
Yeah.
Some people do like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
their
yeah,
passion
yeah.
for it. But like you did it, and you did it at a young age.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like it didn't take you to 50 to
Yeah.
figure out what you want to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. Well, I think that it's
I've been-
always been in you.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say you've been doing
Yeah,
that
he's
as a
been.
teenager.
I
Yeah.
didn't know. This
I've
would
been
this would have
full-
never been my avenue.
full time for 8 years, full time musician.
That's awesome.
And it just it's the best job, it's the hardest working. It's people think that, oh, it must be so fun and just gallivanting and playing music, and it's like the 2 hours that we play is fun,
So fun.
Yeah.
but everything leading up to that, to book it and to have everything, all the missing pieces come to that point, is very hard work.
And then you plug in a speaker and then it's dead, and
Yeah.
you're like, do I have an extra in the van? And then we're
Yeah.
sending somebody. It's a lot. But
No,
Yeah.
it's like your own roadie sometimes.
Yeah.
oh gosh, yeah, I know. If we can have some roadies, that'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, you need to work on that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Let's do
I
that
know.
next.
Yeah.
Okay, this 15-minute interview
Yeah.
is now an hour and 15 minutes.
You're kidding. Oh gosh.
Oh my god,
I love talking to you guys.
Yeah.
I feel like we're best friends.
I know, man.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. For all the contact info of you guys, under so people can see it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
we look forward, of course, seeing you at Midtown Friday.
Midtown, can't wait.
It's gonna be so
the
fun.
Twilight, show, which is Thursday.
Tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Days,
Yeah.
Okay, so Wednesday, I'll get that out before. Hopefully you watched all the way to this point.
Yes.
So know that it is the end. I think you have, because it was an awesome interview.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yes,
Oh,
thanks,
thank
dude.
you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Matt. Appreciate it.